All right, let's get right into it. We are going to tackle a question that seems pretty simple on the surface, but it has absolutely massive implications for your financial future. We're going to pull back the curtain on the true cost of that seemingly tiny 1% investment fee. So many of us have asked this exact question, right? Investing can feel super complicated. And let's be honest, getting a professional to help seems like the smart thing to do. But what if that's the wrong question entirely? And that is the heart of the matter. See, it's not about the fee you pay this year. It's about the absolutely colossal impact that fee has, compounding year after year for decades. This is really a story about hidden costs that can literally add up to hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. Okay, so first things first, let's break down why paying 1% feels like such a reasonable deal to begin with, because it really is an easy mental trap to fall into. Just imagine for a second. You've worked hard, you've saved up a solid $100,000. You're feeling good about it, but you're also a little nervous about how to manage it. Then an advisor comes along and says they'll handle everything for you for just 1%. The math on that seems incredibly simple, right? $1,000 a year for professional help? For peace of mind? I mean, that feels like a bargain to make sure you're on the right track. But believe me, this is just the very, very tip of the iceberg. So let's jump into the first major phase of your financial life, the accumulation phase. This is when you're saving and growing your wealth. And this, my friends, is where the real damage actually begins. What you're looking at here tells a really powerful story. No words needed. On the left, that's your potential wealth after 30 years of saving, with no fee. On the right, that's with the 1% fee. Do you see how that entire graph is shifted over to the left? That is a picture of your money just vanishing. So let's put a hard number on that disappearing act. On average, over a 30-year savings period, that small fee costs you somewhere between $200,000 and $300,000 in lost growth. Wow, that is the first massive hidden price tag. But here's the crazy part. The cost doesn't stop when you stop working. Oh no, in fact, it continues to squeeze you all through retirement, which is exactly when you need every single dollar the most. Okay, so what we're looking at now are a bunch of simulations for a 30-year retirement. Those scary red lines? Those are all the times your money runs out completely. To avoid that happening, the person paying that 1% fee has no choice but to withdraw way less money every year just to feel safe. And it all boils down to this thing called your safe withdrawal rate. It's just a fancy term for how much of your savings you can spend each year without a high risk of going broke. Look at the difference here. Without an advisor, you can safely take out 5% a year. But with that fee, it drops all the way down to 4.4%. Now, that might not sound like a huge gap, but it completely changes your lifestyle. Think about it like this. That tiny little difference translates into a permanent 12% pay cut from your own retirement income. I mean, that's a pay cut you take every single year for the rest of your life. It adds up to over $200,000. It's just gone. And unbelievably, it doesn't even stop there. Let's talk about the final stage, the final impact. This is about the wealth you get to leave behind for your family, for your community, for causes you care about. And again, the visual story just repeats itself. These graphs show what your final balance might look like after 30 years of retirement. And that fee, on the right, you can literally see how it just chops off the best-case scenarios. It slashes your ability to create real generational wealth. The median difference, the typical difference, in the legacy you leave behind is somewhere between $400,000 and $500,000. This is the final jaw-dropping cost of that simple 1% fee. That is a life-changing amount of money. Okay, I know, that was a whole lot of bad news. But here's the really good news. There is a simple, proven, and way, way cheaper path. You can absolutely do this yourself and keep all that money working for you. So the solution is about as direct as it gets. Just don't use an advisor. You can take control of your own investments. And honestly, it's become more straightforward and accessible today than it has ever been before. And here's the basic game plan. It's not rocket science, I promise. You can build this amazing, globally diversified, age-appropriate portfolio with just a few low-cost funds called ETFs. You buy the whole stock market. As you get older, you add some bonds, maybe some international stocks. The whole thing can be done with like 3 funds. It's that simple. And look, this isn't some weird fringe idea. This philosophy comes straight from John Bogle, the legendary founder of Vanguard. His whole mission in life was basically to prove that keeping costs super low and just buying the entire market is the winning strategy for everyday people like us. So let's just put it all together one last time. You're losing a few $100,000 while you save, you're losing another couple $100,000 in retirement income, and then you lose $500,000 in your final legacy. I mean, when you start adding this all up, the total hit from that reasonable 1% fee gets dangerously close to $1 million. So the real question isn't whether you can afford an advisor. The real question is this: what would you, your family, and your future look like with an extra $1 million?